because me and you on this first rung of like working, right? But you still do open mics, and you'll have these new guys who are trying. You can't tell if it's like calculated, where like they're purposely sucking up to you, so it's like hopefully they can get something from you, or like they're like, oh yeah, let me stroke his ego, and then maybe down the line he'll give me something. But it's like you have to, like, oh yeah, no, you're at a different level than I am. It's like, no, I'm not. I'm here at the open mic with you. I'm waiting to do my 3 minutes, and then I'm gonna go home. Like we're not. I'm not like, oh yeah, dude, I'm a freaking feature act for the Funny Bone. It's like, no, dude, I do road work. Is it good road work? It's like, I don't know. I'm doing a lot of motel conference rooms, which is pretty cool. So that's like the wild thing of this art, man.
It's a true art. We already started, man, but I need to say this. I know we was getting into it, but I'm gonna try something different right here, man. Ladies and gentlemen, this is No ID Podcast. Welcome back, season 9. I got here a guy I met about 4 years ago. Great guy. He used to give me still does, give me a lot of advice on the stage. He's road comic. I've seen him kill a room. Y'all know him as Cal U. Yeah, I know him as
It's Caillou. Thank you very much. They can't see it because I have my hat on, because my girlfriend's a hippie and refuses to turn the heat on, despite the fact it's cold in our home.
The white little Bill.
There we go. I like that one. There we go. Little Bill.
Little Bill. My friend, man, a good brother of mine, Addison Hall. What's going on, baby?
Nothing, Rome. How are you, buddy?
I'm good, bro. I'm a little tired, but I'm okay, man.
I didn't think about it. It is like, it sucks that like Little Bill's kind of dark now because he's connected to Big Bill, who did all shit. He's out now, dude. He's good. He beat the Chargers.
No, I didn't know they got something else on his ass.
Did they, for real?
Mm-hmm.
God, he's all blind and shit. And he has to be close to 90. You know what I mean?
I think so. I think he is at the 90. I think he's at those gas pump numbers.
That has to be an odd one. That has to be a real odd one. Cause like you're a judge and you have to like, oh man, I'm presiding over Bill Cosby. Oh gosh, shoot.
I can't never look at Cosby show the same.
Yeah, dude. Or just like weird, like nice sweaters with like bright colors.
You know what's crazy? He is in my top 10.
Isn't that a bummer? We're like, he's a great comic. I was thinking about that. I was listening to Michael Jackson. I like a lot of Michael Jackson's early stuff, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I've been working. Like all that shit. Like that shit's like so catchy. But then it's just like, oh, he probably does. He might have done awful things. Like it's a very like that separating the art from the artist thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know? Like it's not comedy, but like in movies like Roman Polanski. Like Chinatown's a great film, but Roman Polanski is a horrible human being. Yeah.
Yeah, bro. Like I watched Bill Cosby. We had Bill Cosby Show, Cosby Mysteries, the Cosby Show, and people don't realize this because I'm a big fan of different variations of comedy. Was he did Cosby, like he had an adult themed show on CBS, and it came on with Everybody Loves Raymond. That's when Everybody Loves Raymond, King of Queens.
So like late 90s.
Late 90s.
I didn't know that. I knew he did some other stuff. I'm personally interested. What is the Cosby Mysteries? Was he Scooby doing it up?
Pretty much. He was. He had a young Mos Def. He had like Mos Def was up there. He had Alicia Keys.
Oh wow, dude! I had such a crush on Alicia Keys. She was in a film called Smoking Aces, and she was so hot. She was so beautiful. Oh, dude! But like, all I can think about if it's the Cosby Mysteries is just him framing people for crimes he's committed.
Man, I fucked with him.
Yeah, that's the bummer thing, man. You gotta like separate the art from, because like his art was like, dude, he was huge. He was freaking huge. Like he started in like the 50s, being like an African American, starting like doing like mainstream comedy in the 50s. That's an achievement, you know. Like you put all the other bad shit aside, that's pretty freaking impressive. So again, he's got to separate the art from the artist.
Like sitting down with psychologists to produce the Cosby Show, so it won't give any negative stereotypes. Putting out the Bill Cosby Show when he was like a gym teacher, then doing Cosby, and then hearing the horror stories.
Wasn't Cosby like the one where he's like is it a retired pilot or like something like that? Chandler. Yeah.
Yeah. That shit.
And it was an airport. Yeah, something to do with the airport. Yeah.
Yeah, that shit. You can't find it on Prime, but you can find the bitch on YouTube.
Yeah, I'm sure like that dude, whoever owns the rights to the Cosby Show is pissed. They're so pissed. They have a beloved show and they're like, no one wants to buy it from me. It's like, yeah. That dude did stuff. And it has to be a bummer. Imagine all those other actors where it's just like they're missing that check of them selling it, like, you know what I mean, like selling it to Netflix, and they're just like, oh, can we just not? Can we give Bill's money to like a charity? Can you sell it to someone, please? Because I mean, those royalty checks, man. I don't know how much reading you've done on that, but like hearing like freaking Jerry Seinfeld was like making like $1 million a month just from like because they were showing the Seinfeld in some weird country in Asia.
That's a goat too, man. But like Cosby Show was like, they still play it. They play it on like a block from 6 to 8 on TV One, and then early in the morning from like 7 to 9. But they would not play Cosby. They would play the Cosby Show. That is it. And there's only select episodes that they play. Like I remember they did the thing when Elvin was up there, and he was going broke because he's working in Whole Foods. And
oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, he's like, man, the money ain't that good. Cosby stuff. It's same thing you said.
Yep.
They ended up going on Power with 50 Cent. That's what it is.
Oh, good for him. He got something out of it, man. It's Jerry Seinfeld's one of those dudes where it's like he was like a few years ago he did something for Netflix where it's like him going through his old notebooks, and as like a aspiring comic, that was really interesting to watch. You just like watching this dude work a bit about like coat hangers. He was like, hey, what's the deal with coat hangers? Like all that. It's just but no, it's funny because like you're clearly on the cleaner side of the comedy. Like one of my dudes is Richard Pryor. Like I grew up watching Richard Pryor specials in his movies. You know what I mean? Like was it The Toy, and then the one he did with the guy who played Willy Wonka, where like they're blind and he's deaf. Yeah. I think it's like See No Evil, Hear No Evil. Yeah. Like him, he's a fascinating guy where he came from. Just like the background he came up in. And then, like, he was trying to do the clean thing, trying to do what Bill Cosby was doing. And then he was just like, nah, I'm going to do my thing. I'm going to do me. And then just blew up, dude. And it's funny because, like, I've always talked to other comics, in my opinion, it's like you're either a Richard Pryor guy or you're a George Carlin guy. You know what I mean? Like, you either want to be the funniest, telling all your wildest stories on stage, or you want to be a guy trying to make some like poignant point in a humorous fashion. So I'm definitely a Richard Pryor guy. I like being bombastic and loud. A silly Billy. That's my goal, dude.
Oh man, yeah. Pryor took that realism to another level. That first comedy special back in what was it, 76, 78? It only get on YouTube. Yeah. It was half hour special. I can't repeat none of the jokes.
No. I definitely can't.
Like, it was raw, man. This shit.
He talked about freebasing cocaine. Like that's wild. He set himself on fire, and he's like, "Isn't this ridiculous?" And everyone's like, "Yeah, it's crazy, Richard."
It was amazing, man. Addison, brother, how long you been doing comedy, my man?
This year is my 5th year. I started in July, so like I'm about so 5 years in. I'm gonna be rounding 6 before too long. So yeah, man, love it. I can't. Are we allowed to curse on this? I'm trying to like.
Yeah, you can.
Okay, cool. I was trying to figure out what I can and can't do. No, man, I really do love it. It's the It is the funnest thing I do, and it's funny because like you'll meet dudes where like me and you, I think me and you are very similar personality wise, but our comic style is very different. So it's always fun to like pick your brain on comedy. Like, dude, like some of the bits you work, I'm just like, that's clever. I'm such a Neanderthal. I couldn't write that. Like it's just that's what I love about this stuff, man. And you'll just get guys where it's like, I don't know if you've seen Brandon Romo Ramirez lately, but kid is getting sharp, and he's been good since he started. But man, some of the bits he does, and I'm like, that's so funny, that's so good. Or like my buddy Matt Hubbard. I'm sure you know him out of Virginia Beach.
Love Matt Hubbard.
Oh, he has this bit about like a water slide, and I'm like, that's so good, that's so funny. That's what I love about it, man. Is like the people who are really about it, you can really sit down and really talk to them about comedy, and their perspectives are so interesting. Because you'll get guys like I find Josh Gideon, like he's a new guy around here. I'm sure you've run into him. The stuff he writes is so fascinating, and the way he's trying to approach it, as you can see, he's like in that crystallizing of what he wants to present on stage. We're like, you're 4 years in, I'm 5. I mean, you've done hundreds of shows. We've been paid to do this. We kind of know how we want to present ourselves on stage. We kind of know the persona we're going for. And I'm kind of watching this new guy, Josh, because he's this big, handsome kid, and he's smart, and he's kind of doing this like shy, naive guy thing on stage, but he's talking about like dark stuff, and it's really interesting to watch him kind of like figure out how to piece all that together. And that's why I like it, man. It's like that, being on shows and we're all doing very different acts in a very similar fashion, which is fun. Like me and you on a show is always interesting because you go up there and you have these sharp, tight written bits, and I'm up there just like doing bits, then going at the crowd for a second, then doing bits, going at the crowd for a second. It's fun, man.
I learned some of my crowd work from you. It was a show, I think it was either open mic or a show we did with Noel Goodman up in Williamsburg at Capola. And it was a fireman in the front. And he was sitting beside the fire pit. I was like, damn, this motherfucker is crazy.
Yeah. But that was the same one where like I found out like I was doing bits and like found out like half the crowd are farmers. Do you remember that? Yeah. That was the same night. And I was like, oh shit, you guys are all farmers. Nice. You guys are doing well for yourselves here. This is a nice restaurant. And Noel, it's funny because like when it's a show run by a friend of mine and there's my friends on the show, I'm way more willing to take risks doing crowd work and stuff because it's like, you guys know I'm funny. So if this doesn't go well, you guys know I'm funny. It's not like, well, this guy sucks. But like at that one of the things I remember the most is like, so to paint the picture of K-Boli for the listening audience, we were on like a side balcony kind of thing, like a little patio. And they had these pillars, so we're kind of off from the road. And along one side wall was like a window, and it was probably like a 8-foot long window. And there was like it was connected to a different restaurant, not Cable, a different restaurant. And the stage was like right next to it. So I was having fun. I would like point at people in the other restaurant. Like one guy looked like George R.R. Martin from Game of Thrones. And I was like, oh shit, guys, this is George R.R. Martin, which in retrospect was a bad thing to go with because like the people in the back of the room couldn't see it, but the people up front loved it because they could see it. And then the guys inside like, why is that weird bald guy pointing at me? Yeah, man.
You was fucking with everybody. And then I like how after you finished getting off stage, you walked up to the fireman. You was like, hey, man, just jokes out about it. I was like, okay.
That's something I'm really big on, man. Like we talk about like this, like figuring out what you want to do with this thing, right? You want to figure out what you want to do with the art of comedy. My goal ultimately is to be a guy where it's like you pay the money to come see me and you get a night where you forget about whatever. You know what I mean? Like I'm not gonna bring up some tragedy that happened recently. I'm not going to try to challenge your perspective on something. It's like, hey man, this is my life. This is some weird stuff that happened to me. Let's laugh. And so when I do crowd work, my goal all the time is to be fun. It's never to be insulting because like there's some dudes, especially a lot of new guys, where it's just like their whole thing is they insult the audience. They're just like shitty to the audience members, and like I don't like that. That's not why I'm doing this. You know what I mean? Like I want comedy to be fun. I don't want someone leaving feeling like shit and then they don't want to go to another comedy show. That's why I always make sure when if I go at someone for a little bit, I always make sure I shake their hand. I'm like, hey man, it's just jokes. Hey, thank you for being a good sport, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So, because in my opinion, that should be the goal. If you're trying to piss the audience off, me and you are doing different things. If you're trying to make the audience upset, so
I'm trying to get the audience to come back and follow me and book me.
Follow me. Share my podcast with everybody.
Sure.
If you run a business, make it mandatory for your employees to listen.
Yeah, man. What's been one of the greatest things of comedy that you've done, like seen or done?
Seen or done in a comedic fashion, or resulted from me doing comedy?
Both.
Honestly, the thing I'm really grateful for is, like we talked about, like I didn't have the easiest upbringing. I come from poor white folk, and we moved a lot because money was always tight, so we're always like having to move to a different house and stuff like that, and didn't have a lot growing up, and I like that I could do comedy, and so like that ended up leading to me being a drug addict, and like I'm 4 years sober from Oxy, which is yeah, it's a blessing. But I can impart experiences I've had with people. Like I've had talks after shows where it's just like, oh yeah, I that's how I grew up too. It's cool to see someone else doing well from that. Or like I talked to a guy last Saturday. I did Push Comedy Theater last Saturday, and a guy walked up to me afterwards and he's like, hey man, you don't remember me, but I saw you at a Foxtail like 6 months ago, which was like a open mic I was going to for a while, run by this guy named Connor Pittman in Hampton. It was a music mic, but like he was inviting comics, and I was one of the guys he invited. And but the guy was like, "Yeah, man, no, I'm officially 2 years sober myself, and you're the reason I decided to start comedy." He's like taking the class at Push Comedy Theater, and I was like, "Oh wow, man, well, congrats! This is the best thing. You're gonna love it. This is the best thing."
Mm-hmm.
So that was really cool. I like I like that. I can be like a thing that connects people in a way where it's like, hey, you're not alone in this weird struggle. And like I do it in a non-serious way. I'm not like, oh yeah, dude, I was a drug addict, my life fell apart. Like, no, dude, it was kind of all right. Like, it's terrible. I shouldn't have done it, but hey, I like that. That's really cool. I like the group of friends I have. I've been very blessed. Like, you, Nick, Brandon, Pabone. I've met so many great dudes, and like I said, like every time I see you, Rome, I'm like, hell yeah, like yes, cool. This is gonna be a fun night. This like Rome's here. This will be fun. If it's not, me and Rome can look at each other like, hey, another terrible one. So that's fun. Like I'm very grateful for that comedy's provided me with that, because you know what I mean. Like all of us are so different from such different walks of life and temperaments and stuff like that, and it's cool. It's cool getting to know each other. Like me and our buddy, like me and Wood, we were on a show up in Richmond, and just getting the ride with him, and we spent the night just hanging, just bullshitting, and that was fun. It was just cool. Best comedic wise, I don't know. I've had a lot of really fun moments, man. Like I work a bit about being in the trades, and this is at Cosby's one night, and the place is packed, and there's this guy in the front row, this big guy, big ass, big old catcher mitts on him, and he's just like housing this plate of nachos. And I was like, hey, man, you in the trades? And he went, yeah, I'm in the trades. Like, you mechanic? And he started laughing and went, yeah, I'm a mechanic. I went, I fucking knew it. And the crowd just like blew up. And it's just, that was a really fun one. Crushing at a sold out show where there's like almost 300 people in the crowd. That was wild. Like I worked with a guy named Matt Bronger, who's a great comic. Fantastic dude out of LA. And he had he was at Sandman, and I was working the weekend. This was like late last year. And just from top to bottom, I crushed the whole weekend. But like the day before I went up there, I had to take my mom to the emergency room. And she's like shaking. And like the next day I'm like going, and I'm like, oh yeah, chance my mom's going to die. That sucks. That's a bummer. And then day of, my truck died. So yeah, truck just seized up on me in a parking garage in Newport News. So I took my girlfriend's car up there. And I get there, and the dude's like, hey, man, how you doing? And I just want to be like, well, fucking not. But it's like, yeah, I'm great, dude. I'm fucking awesome. Things are great. And then I just crushed. Like, that was fun. It was fun to be able to, like, having spent a lot of time doing this, a lot of time, like, really studying this art, wanting to be good at it, and wanting to be good back to it. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's been good to me, so I should be good to it. That's why, like, I'm really big on talking to new guys and trying to, like, hey, you shouldn't do this. This is good. Don't do that. Because I feel like I got rewarded. Like this thing I've put a lot of time into, I was able to crush despite the fact that I was in a terrible, terrible place emotionally. And that was cool. That was a cool thing of just like, oh, I've been drilling this thing for so long, and I'm fucking great at it now. Yeah, there's been a lot of great moments like that, man. A lot of cool stuff comes from doing this. It's a blessing.
You get to meet a lot of people too, man.
Great people, yeah. A lot of great people.
You get to see a lot of stuff. Like, I enjoy our conversations after the show because we'll go over specials, and your face drops when I name some of the comedians that I actually watched. I was like, yeah, I watched John Mulaney. He was like, you fucking would watch fucking John Mulaney.
I know you would, dude. That sounds like would. Well, that's what I like, man. Is the beautiful thing about comedy is people who don't do it, they hear it and they think, oh, it's comedy, where it's like one singular thing, where it's like, oh, that's country music, it's rock music. But like, comedy is like music, where there's all these different guys. There's all these different guys. Like I love a dude named Dan Cummings, and I haven't met many people who watched him. He's great. I love, and then I like him, then I like Patrice O'Neal, and then I like Bernie Mac, dude, and then I like the blue collar guys. Like, dude, I listen to
blue collar.
Yeah, I listened to a Jeff Foxworthy album from like '87, and it's just this dude in some honky tonk just crushing, and it's like, hell yeah. And man, that's what I love, man. And like Taylor Tomlinson, like that's a perspective of just like a pretty petite white girl like that. I don't have a clue about any of that. You know what I mean? There's her. She had a bit about like trying to make a guy wear a condom for sex is like trying to make a kid wear a coat for a Halloween costume, and it's just like, that's so good. That's genius. Yeah, so funny. And like, I love that because that's like, me and you are never gonna write that bit, but you hear that bit and you're like, that's great. That's a good bit. You know, that's what I love about this art form, man. It's way more broad and diverse than most people would think. Like if you're not a comedy fan, if you're just like watching this because you're like, I don't know, Rome's friend or girl who's obsessed with him or something like that, you should check out comedy. There's someone for you. There's someone who's going to have a perspective or a thought you've had, and you're going to be like, holy shit. And it's going to like blow it up.
It is. So. Fun fact, Cat Williams used to open up for Jeff Foxworthy.
Fucking for real? Ah, dude. Oh my God. I would cut my foot off to see that show. That's a wild show, dude. Oh man. Cat Williams is so high energy though. And Jeff Foxworthy is so slow. That's interesting. Cat Williams is another dude. I love Cat Williams, dude. That guy is fucking so funny. So funny. Oh, man.
Delicious, man.
Murders.
I think from... Just to repeat just going back on what you said, like, just seeing, in my opinion, like, the best thing that's ever happened to me in comedy, one is getting out the house.
Yeah, that's good.
That's getting out the house. Two is I get to challenge myself on that stage because... Probably I always tell people I used to fucking suck back in the day. Suck, bro. Suck.
It took you a minute, but when you found the rhythm,
Yeah, the lockdown was the best thing that's ever happened to me, bro.
Yeah,
to be honest with you,
because you were doing those virtual mics hard, weren't you? I feel like I was seeing you all over the place on virtual mics. I hate virtual mics, man, because like I'm like the opposite of you because like you're like a smart, clever writer. Where me is like I got to fill this crowd. I got to know what the crowd's. You know what I mean? Like, and I can't do that in a virtual room, dude. I did one show, and I did it because the guy was like, "Hey, man, come on, please." And I was like, "Okay," and I did it, and I apparently did well, but I just felt like I was bombing the whole time. You know what I mean? I'm in a room like this, being like, I'm a bald guy. I started balding young, and when you start balding young, it's like God's way of going. Develop personality, and then like you don't feel anything. You're like, I'm bombing. Like you just want to like dive out of the way of the camera. You know what I mean? I did. Just want a lot of people. Just like, hey, why don't you on a virtual mic? I've never done one of those ever. Not one time.
I was crushing. Sold out Wi-Fi stadium. You know what I mean?
Oh, dude. Yeah, I had so many people watching me. My Wi-Fi was stuttering, dude. Even the Wi-Fi was laughing. The Wi-Fi was having to stop to catch his breath.
I did one called The Art of Bombing.
That's the kind of show that makes a comic's butthole pucker. You're like, oh, no.
One dude brung out a guitar. Another one was a ventriloquist dummy. Another guy didn't give no fucks. He was just drinking a monster drink and just ripping. I'm like, bro, who are you ripping on? The front porch? Like, it's nothing. Dude. I was like, this shit is crazy. Yeah, I mean, I still do them virtual mics sometimes too, bro.
Yeah, they can be fun. The one I had the most fun with was like I had a buddy of mine was at like a desk, like how I am, but he had the camera set back so you can see the front of the desk, and he had like a microphone like pointed up here, so he looks like a news anchor. And like I was out on my front porch, and it was supposed to be like we were doing sets, but me and my buddy just ended up dominating the show. We ended up running a fake news report, and I was the field reporter.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, back to the studio with Andrew, and Andrew would be like, so the Chinese are invading. We have a special reporter on the ground. Addison Hall, take it away. And it was like, yeah, the Chinese are here to collect the debt that the American people owe them, and they will get theirs. So I'm like in my front yard just shouting. Man, virtual mics, man.
Virtual mics.
You do them on Zoom still?
Yeah. Zoom and I forget the other one, man. But
I wonder if someone started like a virtual comedy club yet, like on Discord. Let's start a Discord server for the purpose of doing comedy shows. Just like I'm gonna bring people in.
They did them on Twitch. They was doing them on Twitch for a minute.
They're on Twitch. Man, that's a Tonight Show thing at that point. Doing a TV show. I pitched that to Tyrell. Tyrell used to have this show called Tidewater Tonight, and I was like, dude, you should bring that back. It should just be you, and you should sit at a desk and you should read news reports from around the Hampton Roads area, and then like write jokes about them. And you can do it on Twitch, you can do it on Instagram and YouTube. And it was funny because like I was telling my girlfriend about that. My girlfriend was like, "Why do you always pitch shows for other people? You should pitch your own show." I was like, "Fair enough." I'll do that. But yeah, oh man, I think there's like there's a reason I have this set up. I think I'm at a point where I know I'm good. You know what I mean? Like I'm a competent comedian, but I want to expand my audience more. I want to do more stuff. You know what I mean? Like it's cool. It's cool being well known around the state and like, you know, people going, "Oh no, this guy's a good comic," but I would like to be able to do the Carolinas. I'd like to be able to do Pennsylvania, Maryland, you know. So, but like, you're not gonna do that just by doing mics in Hampton. So, you gotta expand a little bit.
A little bit, a lot.
Yeah. So I was always like, man, I'm glad Rome started a podcast. That's smart. I gotta figure out something to do on my own.
I only started the podcast because I bombed real bad. They cut the lights off on me, and then I started the podcast. Yeah. And I wrote a bit about it. I was like,
hell yeah.
I wrote a bit. I think the bit I was talking about with the old black ladies was like, I said it was a black church. It was a black church crowd at a bar. Which probably is funny now that I think about it.
Oh, that's hilarious. What a spot. Yeah.
But yeah, man, that's why I started a pod. And then I tried to get a couple of comedians out here in 7-5, and I didn't know who's who. So then I just like, let me just dig in my bag. Because if you look at the first season of No ID, man, my mom up there, my sister, my cousin, aunt, co-worker from the job, random people. It's
learning, man. That's like you. That's the thing. Like, what I like about you doing the podcast is like so many dudes around here start a podcast and they'll do like 8 episodes and they're like, well, I'm not famous yet, so I'm stopping doing this. And it's like, nah, man, it's gonna take years to do build up. Like that first season, that's the thing. Like this takes off. Like dudes who really enjoy your podcast will like the first season because it'll be you just being like, oh, this is just him figuring it out. This is just him trying to put pieces together and see like what works and what doesn't. But yeah, man, I think that's a big issue with our area where too many people are like, they just want to do one thing. Like, no, I do mics in Portsmouth. I'm going to become famous. I was like, no. You have to do other things. You have to figure stuff out. You talk about like bombing, man. And like, I think you can get a lot of growth out of bombing. Like I did a showcase once and it was in this nice restaurant and like, in Norfolk. It was like right across the way from the Scope, which is like a hockey arena for people not from the area. And I was bombing really hard, like really bad. And this again, it was a nice restaurant, like cloth napkin in your lap kind of place. Like, and dude, there's this older black couple, and you tell the dude was a hardworking guy. You know what I mean? Probably ran his own business, was in the trades or the shipyard or something. And you know, it's clearly like, hey, Friday night, hey baby, I'm gonna take you out. We're gonna have a nice dinner. And then it's just me on stage talking about dating, doing drugs. And literally there was a part where I was just like, I was like doing a bit and I looked over at him and he looked up from cutting his steak. He looked at me and went back to cutting his steak. And it hurt so bad. But the thing was, if I immediately went to another mic after that, I went to Zeke's. Did you ever do Zeke's in Norfolk?
Sure did.
Fucking Zeke's was great. I loved Zeke's. So I went there afterwards, and I told that whole story on stage, like 30 minutes after that happened, and crushed. Just crushed. Because, like, if you're going to be a comic, you have to be ready to be silly. You have to be ready to be the butt of the joke. If you're trying to do cool guy comedy, you're going to burn out quick. Because it's silly. It's ridiculous. You know, me and you are dudes in our early 30s, and we're going to, at some point this year, next year, we're going to do shows for people who are 80 years old. And we're going to be like, hey, what's up, guys? How are we doing tonight? And everyone's just like, And that's comedy, man. It's ridiculous. That's what's great about it.
It is. Like, one minute you could be having like a bad show at a fancy restaurant, and the next minute you can be at Zeke's Beans and Bowls fucking killing it.
It.
1 minute you could be opening up and killing it at the Funny Bone. 2 weeks later, you could be bombing at a bar.
Yeah, a dive bar with 2 people listening. Yeah, you can open for a comedian, and then the like 2 days later, you're at a bar and you're bombed, and there's just some drunk guy being like, "You know how you should do it? You should do this. Let me tell you a joke. You can take this if you want it." And you're like, "Bugging, please don't."
We came up in that rough Virginia comedy era. That rough shit.
Oh, that was the thing like me and Nick talked about, where it's just like, dude, when I started, dudes were so shady to new guys. So shady to new guys. I think it was a month and a half before I could get people regularly to talk to me. And it's funny because like I think dominant personalities tend to dictate the scene politics. And like our scene now is very nice. We're very nice. We're very welcoming people. And I think that a lot of that's just because dudes like you, dudes like me, dudes like Nick, where it's just like, hey man, how you doing? Oh yeah, how long you been doing this? Well, welcome. Hey, you can do this, this, and this. Because when you come up in that, have you ever bombed on an open mic and then had the host go up and fucking roast you even more? Like the bomb sucked enough, but when the guy goes up and it's like, that guy sucked, right? Everybody, they're like, he's just like sitting in the back nursing a drink, like, I'm never gonna do this again. I'm so stupid, I'm an idiot.
That shit was rough, man.
Oh, it was rough.
So fucking rough, man. Oh god.
But that stuff makes you thankful, man. Like when you get to do something like Push, where like Push always has these really great crowds who are very, very forgiving and so much fun. And it makes you thankful for that because you did a freaking clam bar in Chesapeake where they watched football instead of listening to you. You had a microphone and a speaker, and they literally were basically doing their best to ignore you.
Yeah.
You
remember like your worst bomb you ever had?
Yeah. I had one. There used to be a mic. I'm sure you remember a place called Capstan in Hampton.
Sure do.
Yeah, I dated the beer tender there for a little bit, and this very pretty girl, and it was kind of thing where like every other comic had a crush on her, and I just happened to like match with her on a dating app. So we dated for a little bit, and so we broke up on a Sunday, and the mic was that Wednesday, and I was like, in my head, I was like, we're gonna figure this out. We're gonna get back together. It's gonna be fine. Show up to the mic. It's just me and Donna Lewis who ran it, and it's a nice little small crowd, not bad. And like I'm sitting at the bar talking to her, and we're being cordial, being nice. I'm like, oh yeah, it's gonna work out. We're gonna be fine. And then so the place where the beer was, like where the taps were, they had like a piece of metal that had been polished enough that it reflected. So I was just sitting there having my beer, and I saw her open her phone and go to Bumble, and she was already texting with somebody. And like literally as I see that, Donna Lewis goes, all right, Addison Hall. And then I go up there and I'm like, I was a drug addict. My uncle beat the fuck out of me a couple times. It was just the saddest. Just a guy just trying his best to hold it together. And it was just 10 minutes. Just 10 minutes of not a single laugh, dude. And you're like in your feelings and you don't really care, So yeah, that might have been my worst one. Yeah.
The lights turning off was not my worst one.
Really?
Nope. I wouldn't even say it was a bomb. I just forgot my goddamn jokes.
Oh, you just froze up?
I froze up. I was supposed to do 10 minutes. I drove to Petersburg to do a festival. Shit. 3 hours. from Chesapeake to Petersburg, and I just forgot my fucking jokes. I was so pissed. Like, they was like coming up to me, "You're so funny." I was like, "No, the fuck, I'm not." I walked off. I drove home. I didn't eat nothing. I just drove
You
home.
just drove home. The radio not on, just quiet. That's the sound of the road, just boom, boom.
And like usually I got somebody I'll talk to on the way home. They was like, "You ain't call me." I was like, "Fuck you." No. I ain't want to do it.
I gotta sit with my feelings for a little bit. Sorry, forgive me.
Yeah, all right, man. I know you got a little crappy Android over there.
Ah, dude, what are you talking about? This is an iPhone, dude. This is proper and nice, dude. Look at that's my mom calling me, dude. I show some respect to Miss Hall, dude.
Show some respect to Miss Hall.
No, dude. I saw the dude once, and I won't say names, and we shouldn't say names because you might have been there. I saw a guy freeze up one time because he was not doing well, and he was like, "All right, I want to end on a laugh." That's literally what he said. All right, I want to end on a laugh, and he went to try to do a bit, and then he blanked, and he thinks he blanked for like 8 seconds. He probably blanked for a minute and a half. Have you ever seen a guy going like? And there's like 60 people watching him. He's just like, hold on. Oh, man, that one. That was, I think about that every once in a while. And it's funny because, like, that can also go back into, like, how people think and how people handle things. Because, like, that being what happened was so intense for that guy that he's like, no, dude, I only blanked for like 10 seconds. And I was like, what?
You took a nap.
You recorded it. We could listen. You want to listen to 1 minute and 30 of silence? Like, we could do that. Like, that's really funny, man. Like, I love that. I'm sure you've run into it. The guys who are like, I love a dude who goes up there, doesn't get a single laugh, but is confident the whole time and gets off stage and is like, whoo, another one in the books. You're just like, what?
Yeah. I headlined at the Croc Center one time for a show.
Shout out.
I was supposed to host. But they said, "Nah, we want to you do some time." I said, "All right, bet. Fuck it, I'll do it." The host was literally walking people out of the room.
Oh, God damn it.
So, I'm leaving. I'm going to my car. They had 3 hosts, and he kept bringing more of his homeboys up there to host with him. So I'm walking to the car. He goes, "Man, good job, Rome. We killed it." I said, "We?" And jumped in my car. I know it's like fucking asshole. Drove off. I was like, "We didn't kill nothing. I killed." But I don't know.
Oh, dude, I do love that. Because I've gotten to do that a couple times where it's just like I'll be on a show with someone, and I do well, and like you're shaking hands with the audience member, you're doing a little conversation. Like one of the comics come up to you afterwards, and it's just like, whew. Yeah, I did all right, right? And you're just like, you want me to be honest with you, or and like that's fun because like you can see them doing the math in their head and be like, yeah, I mean I did well. It's like, yeah, okay. I mean if that's what you want to say, sure. like you're doing that where like I'm not trying to be an asshole, but it's like I'm not gonna co-sign a delusion with you because I don't think that's gonna help you. Like my favorite one is I did a show in Fredericksburg, and it was a good lineup. It was a fun lineup, and Lionel was on it, and I always love doing shows with Lionel. Lionel's a dude I view as like a mentor. That's a guy who like I think he's funnier than me. He writes better jokes than me. He's better posed on stage. Just like I want to soak up whatever information I can with him. And we did a show, and one of the guys was a dude who's like, "Oh yeah, dude, I've been doing comedy for 15 years in New York." All right, and he's like trying to like big dog you, trying to like talk himself up, and he just moved to the area. And this dude gets up, and he was supposed to do 15, does literally about 3 minutes. Just has a panic attack on stage. First joke, like he comes out hard too. The first joke, he swings, big old miss, and then he's like sitting there trying to do some jokes. And the only part where he got a laugh is since it was outdoors. It was like when they were just starting to open stuff during the pandemic. And he goes, "It's the first time I've ever been bombing so hard I can literally hear crickets." And like that got a laugh. And he left on that. And then it was so funny because the host looked at me and was like, "All right, hey, I know I said you're only going to do 15, but can you do like 20? I was like, "Yeah, I can do 20. Just because this other person just bombed as hard as they could. Yeah, man, that's what I love about comedy. There is so many people doing this, and like there's dudes who are all taking it seriously in different levels, but there's like dudes like us who are like trying to do it very honestly. Like you're not gonna fucking bomb off stage and walk up to me like, did it again, Addison. You know what I mean? Like, but there are guys like that, and I find that very interesting. I find it very interesting when you get these guys who are like, this is my life, man. I love this. This is my heart. And it's like, hey man, you gonna come to the mic? It's like, oh, I can't. Football. Oh, I can't. I have a bowling team, so I'm on a bowling team now, so I can't make it out. But this is where my heart is, and it's like, is it? You seem to do anything you can to avoid doing it, almost, unless it's like a booked show. And it's like, okay, like I think that's really interesting, and it's like fun because like I'm watching a bunch of new guys who I'm seeing the different places there, right? Because you'll have a guy who's very loves the art of it and really wants to really develop and be good. Not like confident, not believing in himself, but he wants everyone else when he goes up like that guy's good. And you'll have a guy who's good, but maybe his ego's starting to get him a little bit, and he'll be like, "Oh yeah, dude, I have 30." It's like, I doubt you have 30, dude. There's no, I've seen you do 10, and your 10's like it's like a car that has all the nuts removed from one tire. It's real shaky. It's not, you know what I mean? It's real shaky, dude. And like that's funny to watch because you'll see how those dudes develop, and they'll develop differently because of that, because of their attitudes towards it. Like I'm sure me and you are very similar. Like we're very self-critical. I'm sure you've had this show where like you feel like you bombed and everyone's like, fucking Rome, that was amazing. Like, no, I missed this punchline. You didn't see when I tripped over my words and I had to reset that like a fucking fool. I'm an idiot. I'm a dummy. And I think that has its benefits and has its drawbacks. Like I had one where like I did a don't tell for Nick where I hosted, and I wanted to do very well because there's these people out of DC, and I wanted to like, they don't know me. I want to show up and impress. And I'm doing my jokes, and like I'm a bald guy under this cap, everybody. So I have some jokes around that, and so I say things I look like, and a dude in the crowd went, "You look like a dildo," which was kind of funny. I thought it was actually legitimately kind of funny, but. At that, I'm the host, so I had to like kind of set the tone. So I started going at this guy. And the guy looked like me, but bigger and like way worse off. So I just kept going at him. I was like, "You look like me. If I crawled out of a dumpster, you look like me if I never gave up pills." I hit him for like 30 seconds, like 12 times. Which is like this boom, 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 boom. This is set the tone of like, hey, dude, I'll burn you alive in the word game if that's what you want to do. And I think I went at him too hard because I think the crowd kind of went, "Oh," I pulled back a little bit. And like I did it because I wanted to do well, and then the guy stepped on a punchline, so it's like I'm frustrated. So it's like, all right, I'm just gonna hit you verbally as hard as I can. And then the rest of my stuff, it was good. I got laughs, but it's not where I'm used to being at, especially when I do my working set. Like my working set's very good. My 15 minutes is very tight, and like I did it last night and crushed. And it's just like, all right, so like I know the level the laugh should be at, and I'm not there. So I got off stage, and everyone was like, "Oh yeah, you did great. Oh man, yeah, you're great." You shut the guy off. I'm like, no, I went too hard at that guy. The crowd didn't like it, and that was so funny because I was literally at the bar, getting a drink because the bar was like behind where the show was happening. And so I was talking to a couple of audience members, and they're like, "Oh, I just thought that guy was your friend because you were so quick. We just assumed that guy was your friend." And I was like, "No, I have no clue who that guy is." I was just mad. So, man.
The last critical performance I gave myself, I gave the last, I think like 5 or 6. Suffolk Art Center, everybody's like, "You crushed." I was like, "No, the fuck I didn't."
Mm-hmm.
And with Music Hall, good set. No, it wasn't. And when I did George's with you, I didn't think that was my best fucking set at all. I really was
you did very well. You did very, very, very well.
That's not to toot my own
horn. And they were a tight room. That was a tight room. You gotta love a tight room, where it's just like, ha ha. Next joke.
I was like, yo,
damn, you guys.
This shit.
Give me a second to catch my breath.
I was on the stage when I got off. They was like, "You did so good, bro." I was like, I missed several alley oops.
Yeah,
I messed up. I missed so many alley oops. But then, like I did Funny Bone with D.L. Hughley last year, and I said, "Damn, that's a good set." But then I was like, it wasn't great. But it was sold out. I got a standing O, but I was like, it wasn't fucking great. It wasn't fucking great. And somebody's like, you need to get out your head. It's like, no, y'all don't understand. Like, this shit here, very critical. Like, I like you. I like when you're at a show. I like when Lionel's at a show because I can pick both y'all brains. Like, I remember, I said it prior. I was like, yo, you, Lionel, Rondell, Nick, Tori.
Shout out to Rondell.
Fuck. Who else? So if I miss y'all, I apologize. I was like, yeah, work on that. This is all you gotta do right here. Doom. I was like, all right, cool. You and Lionel was like, really, and Tori gave me the one that told me to start watching shit on mute. And like,
Tori's was always a really smart comic. He was this dude who, like, I remember I was writing this joke with the premise being like, you know how you'll go into like a fast food place or a dollar store or whatever, and you're like, hey, how you doing? You're like, oh, I'm good. Like, what if you just answered honestly? Like, oh, hey, how you doing? It's terrible. The eggs are bad. Things are really bad. And he had a bit similar to that, and it was like so much more clever and polished that I just dropped mine. But it was just like, that's smart. And Lionel's one of those dudes. Like, what I love about Lionel is like Lionel will hear a bit and he'll give you a tag for it, and you're like, oh, that's such a good. How did I miss that? That's such a good tag. And he'll just do it casually, like, hey man, just take this if you don't want it. It's like, fuck you, Lionel. You know you're better than me. Just tell me the tag. Don't act like you're like oh, I don't know if this is good or not. It's like, you know it's good, Lionel. Just give it to me. I want it. Give me your tag. I'll take it.
Sometimes you go in these rooms where it's just not anything. Like, then you do Bad Habits. We did Bad Habits one time.
That was the clam bar I was talking about. Oh, dude, I don't. So I'm not gonna throw shade at that guy. But last time we did it, it was apparently supposed to be a clean show, and I got there late, and I told the host that, and the host was like, "Hey, you want to go first?" I went, "Sure," and I went up and I did not do a clean set, because I wasn't told to. So I got off stage and like everyone's like I heard groans and stuff during my set, and I got off stage like, was this supposed to be clean? The host goes, yeah, and it was just like, as the host, you should tell me that. Like, you didn't do time at the top, which you're supposed to do as the host. You're supposed to warm the room up. That's how it goes. But yeah, man, shit like that where it's just like, that's like one of the reasons like I try to pick and choose what mics I go to now, because it's just like, I have no issue with new guys. Like, new guys are gonna miss stuff, but there's like certain stuff of like, if you're just going to straight up just set me up for failure, because like I have a clean set, I can work clean, but I just need to be told, because like I go to mics, I'm developing different bits, like whatever I'm working on that night, and if it's a clean room, I'll pivot and not work on whatever dirty joke I may be working on. Not even that I'm particularly some sort of mic came at me, some sort of vulgar comic, but I do have sets where I curse or it's a sexual joke or whatever. It's just. But I need to be told, and like just not telling me, and then I just go in front of all these fucking white rednecks who just don't want us there. They straight up don't want us to be there. So, yeah, man.
I didn't read the room because I think you left. I had on my Malcolm X hat for fucking with fucking French t-shirt on. And I was like, yeah.
Mixed signals.
I'm going to fuck this up. So I ended up going to Jam. And I was like, let's see how Jam is. I came back like the next week. And
Jam was always tough.
If Kevin Hart fucking can come out there and perform, they were not going to.
But no. They'd just be staying in the back playing dominoes, ignoring them.
Shit. I did Tropical Delight one time. That shit was bad.
Dude, talking to Jam Cafe and Bad Habits, Patrick Devine. You remember Patrick Devine?
Sure do.
Patrick Devine, for those that don't know, great comic. He's just like this one-liner guy. So it was me, Rome, and him at Bad Habits, and I bombed. And then I went to Bad Habits. I went to Jam Cafe to do another set, and I'm like standing outside as Patrick shows up. And this is how much this guy's a dickhead. And it's the funniest thing in the world. Out there, I'm like talking to people how I bombed and how rough it was and blah blah blah. And then Patrick shows up. I'm like, oh Patrick, how did Bad Habits go? You do well? And he looked at me and went, yes. And went inside. He gave me the most pointed smile of like, yes, I did, dickhead. Shout out to Patrick, man. That was so funny. I think about that. That's like one of the funniest things that another comic's done to me. Because like he knows how badly I wanted to hear him go, no, I also bombed. It was tough. It was like, no, I figured it out. You're just not good. I was like, damn it. So funny. So funny.
I went there the first time. And I ain't go back. Then it they got rid of it. But man, when I was walking from the car, bro, it seemed like a straight biker Trump rally going in this bitch. I said, I think I ranked the wrong turn. And it's only like 10 minutes from my house. I think I made the wrong turn somewhere. I was scared as a bitch. And it was crazy. It was a black guy that was sitting on the bench. He was like, you going in there? I said, yeah. He said, woof.
No words of warning, just a whew.
It's so fucking bad, bro.
Dude, that was one of those places where it's just like, there are people that just don't want comedy, and that space did not want comedy. Because like before that host had it, Isaac Fields, our friend Isaac Fields had it. Did you go to it at all when Isaac had it? So he had it for 3 months, 4 months, something like that, and it was like a Saturday, or I think it was a Saturday showcase. And it'd be like he'd do a couple people let a couple people go up as the mic, and then he would do a headliner. I've seen so many people bomb there. I saw so many dudes. The only person I ever saw do well there, right? So like I watched. Why am I blanking on his name? Dan, old redneck dude, the educated redneck.
Oh, Dan
Ellison. Watched Dan Ellison bomb there. I watched Big Vino bomb there, and then I watched Jason Kiprose murder for 30 minutes, just doing his clean comedy, doing his potato jokes and his toilet paper jokes, just murdering. And I always knew Jason was good. You know what I mean? Jason Kiprose has been doing this for a while. He's very talented. But just watching a guy murder in a room where you've seen no one else do well. I mean, no one else. And he's just up there just casually murdering in his flip-flops and his cargo shorts. And you're just like, damn, dude. Yeah, man, there's some rooms that are just nightmares. And like, I think for newer guys that can be really beneficial, because I think it's good because you learn to read the room. You learn to, like, you say a thing, see how they react, see their body language, try to like figure it out. Because sometimes it's like, sometimes people will be tight and you can do like crowd work and open them up a little bit, like talk to them in like a fun way. And other times you try to talk to them, it's like pulling teeth, and it's just like they don't want this at all. They don't want comedy. And the weird one is like the people who are just like outwardly mean for no reason towards the show. That one's an odd one where it's just like, hey guys, we're going to do comedy. And then they're like, well, that sucks, but I'm ordering another drink and food and staying. And it's just like, oh, all right. Cool. Yeah, man. Yeah. That was a weird space for comedy.
Weird space? Garage Brewery. I did a showcase with 3 comedians from Wilmington.
Okay.
You did Garage Brewery before?
No. I've heard stories about the Garage Brewery, though.
Yeah, I met 3 comedians. I saw the ad on Instagram. DM'd the guy. I said, look, I'm in Chesapeake. I want to know if I can get some time, blah, blah, blah. He said, yeah. I can't pay you. I said, I'm not worried about getting paid. It's only 5 minutes up the street. You know what I mean? Like, I'm good. So I'm going to give you 10 minutes. I'm going to light you at 8. I said, okay. Hopes kills it. I didn't kill it. But the feature and the headliner.
Oh, I love that. I love those shows, though. Those are my favorite.
I killed really good. I killed it. But the host and stuff, he was talking to me. And like he was like, yeah, I've been doing it this, and I was like, bro, I've been doing it about 4 years, and I've been really working on my craft and reading the room. But like the one thing I noticed about him at Garage Brewery, he wasn't really focused on the art of comedy. He was focused on the art of making money.
Mm-hmm.
And like you're selling tickets to a brewery for a showcase, but if I'm at the brewery already, I'm just gonna sit there and just get a fucking free show already. I was telling him, like, I'm not about making money. Like, if you focus on the bread, the money part, the aspect of comedy, you're not gonna go anywhere.
Yeah.
If you focus on your pen and your pad, you'll kill it,
Mm-hmm.
and it'll come. Because comedy is very it's different. It's one of the most humblest careers. Like I drove 3 hours for 5-star. Was it 5-star comedy when they used? I don't know if they still do it, but I drove 3 hours to do a show on top of a brewery. And I think out of 25 comedians, I was probably like number 23.
Yeah, damn.
So I was like, I didn't get paid for it, but I said I went up there and did what I was supposed to do. But like this is one of the most humbling careers. And when you got one foot on the stage and one foot doing something else, you're not gonna go far at all. You know what I'm saying? Like I knew at Garage Brewery, I was like, you know what? I made up in my mind I'm not gonna focus on the money. And I also made up in my mind that I'm not gonna focus on one comedy club as well either.
You can't one comedy club you can't let one thing sink you, man. But no, man, I think you're 100% right. The thing with comedy is I think you can do the thing where it's like you have a name value. Like maybe you're like a guy who's a reality star or something like that. And now you're going to try, like, I'm actually a comedian. And then you go up and it's just like, it's going to take one show. They're going to be excited to see you for 5 minutes. But when like you're 8 minutes in, they haven't laughed a single time. That crowd's going to start to turn on you. And I've done shows where it's like, I've done a show where the guy had been doing comedy relatively a short while, but he had a big enough pool in like the local area that he could get a room together and get a bunch of his friends to come out. That dude wanted the headline, and I was one of the middle acts, and I crushed. And literally, that dude did 20 minutes, and it was quiet. It's his friends, quiet the whole time. And then you have that awkward moment where he's sitting at the bar, shell shocked. You know what I mean? Because he's confident. Like that's the thing. Like, it was all bravado. But then he hit the reality of comedy of like, yeah, you can have all the bravado in the world you want. You can have all the confidence in the world you want. But if you don't have good bits that you've really honed and gotten good, you're going to have shows where you're not going to get anything. And it's going to be 20 minutes of you eating a dick. And then like you did it in front of all your family. Like have the guy sitting at the bar and talking to his friends and they're like, you're so good. You should, dude. All right. I won't say names. There is a show I've done a couple times, and it's so the owner of the place does it with us. I've had multiple of his friends and his family go, "Hey, you should tell him not to do this anymore, and just have you guys do it." Woo, dude! Yeah, no, comedy is So what I think it is, legitly, is I think it's an incredibly hard art form, but with a low barrier for entry. All you have to do is be willing to get on the stage. But the thing is you can see the guys who do it and you can see the guys who don't. And I think comedy, between like Andrew Schultz and like Joe Rogan and stuff like that, I think comedy became cool. And it became like a cool, like, oh yeah, dude, I'm a comic. That's the thing, like, I was talking to some new guys about this, but it's like, you have to be okay with the part-timers. You have to be okay with the guys who, like, they'll come to a mic once a month, twice a month maybe. But they do it because they like telling their friends and their coworkers that they're comics. That's like a fun thing for them to say at like a cookout or a dinner party or a business, like a business cocktail thing. So yeah, I do comedy. It's no big deal. And like then they can show them pictures of them on a stage with a bunch of people watching. You got to be okay with those guys. But that's not what me and you were doing, Rome. Like me and you, like I said, we're trying to find funny, we're trying to develop a really good act. So when eventually we do start having a following and we start getting those bigger shows, we can improve it. Because the thing is, it will show. Mm-hmm. I've seen shows where it's like, I won't say names again, but there's a young guy whose dad was a producer for some rather big artists. So the kid kind of had some cachet, and he kept getting put on shows, and the kid kept bombing. And the kid instead of going to the mics, instead of getting good, that kid wanted to be a step up, wanted to be pushed ahead a little bit. And guess what happened? He got the shit beat out of him. And the first time he got the shit beat out of him, he was just like, it's one time, I'm sure I'll figure it out. And then the second time, it's like, third time. And eventually, you're just going to get sick of getting hit. You don't want to get on stage and, oh, cool, another 15 minutes of silence and, like, lower back sweat, like, fighting off panic.
Yeah, I did a show. I did a show on a Saturday with Wood and Joe. And there was another guy.
Shout out Wood and Joe.
Wood and Joe. Keith to some people, Wood A to a lot of people, Wood to us,
Yeah.
and Joe Parlo. We did a show together with this guy. The guy was headlining at his Mexican restaurant. Now,
I think I did the show. Did he do this show a second time? Because I think I might have done this show.
You might have. This guy had a dressing room, which was the women's bathroom.
Yes.
And he had his sister was his manager, his PR. She was everything. Young cat. I don't even know where he at now. I don't even know what he's doing comedy. He had headshots and was selling headshots with autographs on them. He gets up there now. I never hosted before, so I hosted. He gets up there. He made the noise like ski, like ski. I was like, "What the fuck is wrong with him?" I'm like, "No." So he's promising me and Keith and Wood and Joe, like a bunch of shit. Like, I can get y'all in this club after this. We get to the club, we couldn't even get in. We ended up having like a meal at Denny's and going the fuck home. Like, the show was bad. He did Clash like 2 weeks later, and he didn't Clash. He didn't win. And we haven't seen him since the Clash. But, like, he was young in the game, charged people for headshots and autographs of his headshots. So I was like, dumb ass. So, dude, like, that's it.
Dude, I stand by the fact that, like, the beautiful thing about comedy, right? Like, I don't know where you're at spiritually, but, like, comedy, man, I think there's something to it where if you're starting to get an ego, it'll be like, all right, and it'll check you. And sometimes it checks you pretty hard. It'll check you pretty freaking hard, dude. When I first started, I was probably 2 years in. I started getting very good. Because at the time, I mostly did crowd work, and I was crushing regularly. And then I had 3 months, maybe. 3 months of just solid bombs, getting up multiple times a week. Just regular bombs, dude. Just up there, just trying my hardest, just taking swings and just not getting anything. So that's my ego just being beat into the dirt, man. And that's what I love about comedy, man. It will check you hard. And it's funny because, like, you talk about the meal at Denny's. I think sometimes those are the funnest, man. Food afterwards, like me, Wood, Nick, Anthony, Patrick Logan, a whole bunch of us, and Parker Clay. We went and got food at Waffle House after a one night show that Nick did at Cosby's, and like all of us were on it, and we crushed. Like I probably crushed. That's probably the hardest I've ever crushed, where I got to do like 30 minutes, and I got like 2 different like applause breaks and stuff like that. And just that post show hang, just me and Wood in a booth talking shit and eating food, and just like what a fun hang, man. And like there's that. There's like a brotherhood within comedy because, like, if you do this long enough, you're going to have the bomb. You do this long enough, you're going to have that show where you embarrass yourself in front of a headliner you really liked. If you do this long enough, you're going to bring a girl out thinking you're going to impress her doing comedy and you're going to bomb. You know, it's just that's why I think it's like when me and you see each other, we just immediately click into like, oh, yeah, you see this guy? Like we just immediately start being catty little girls. Like, you know this guy, he sucks. And you're like, you know who sucks? This guy sucks. And we'll do that shit. And we'll talk about like dumb shows we do, or like we'll talk about a bit we like that someone does and how we're jealous that we didn't write that. And that's what I love about this art form, man. Because the dudes who are really doing it really get you. And like you get these guys who are not, and like they might be competent, but they're good promoters. They're okay on stage, but they're better promoters. And like, there are dudes. I did a show for a guy recently that I knew I was better than, and he wanted to do a full 30, and I was like, that's probably going to be a mistake, but I'll do it with you. And he's just a good promoter. His social media game is great. It's so good. He knows how to do it. He's like a good looking dude, knows what he's doing, and did the show. I crushed. A couple other, another one of our friends who were on it, I'll tell you about later, crushed as well. I'm trying to leave it vague so people don't know who it is. And then that guy got up and did 30 minutes, dude, and he bombed. It was rough. It was tough because he had to follow me and our buddy, who are drilled in tight guys, and he's up there, you know, barely a year in, trying to figure it out. And it's funny because afterwards, man, just like literally the owner was talking to him, and then I walked up, and the owner patted me on the shoulder and pointed at me and went, "Definitely have this guy back." And I was like, "All right, sick, nice. That was good. That's good, nice." And that's the fun thing about the art form, because guess what? That guy, he didn't do well. He does want to do this. He's just better at promoting. He does want to do this. And like, he was at least honest. He was just like, he looked at me and went, "That didn't go well." And I went, "Nah, he wasn't that bad." So that's what I love about it. Yeah, comedy's great. It's the best. If you're listening to this and you're thinking about trying comedy, you should just try it. Because you're either going to love it or you're going to hate it. But it's worth trying, because it's the best thing in the world.
If you're doing comedy while you listen to this, watch a lot of stand-up. And I'm talking about varieties of stand-up.
Watch everybody. Watch everybody. You can watch dudes who like you're not going to write bits like I said, like that Taylor Tomlinson girl. Is like watching her like this. You're just like, I'm not an attractive female. I'm never going to write bits like this, but they're well-written bits. They're fun to see how they're structured. It's fun to see the words she uses. Or like you can find dudes like, there's this young Mexican dude. He's this heavyset guy with a mullet out of L.A. And dude, he has this bit about his grandmother having a meth head who lives in her shed and cuts her grass. And it's just like, yeah, when she dies, he's going to be my meth head. Just like, he has a part where he like prods the meth head with a taser to get him back in the shed. It says, dude, and that's the thing, man. Like, and then like, you can look at my buddy Winston Hodges, like that. Like I watch his crowd work stuff, and it's so good. It's so funny. Or I watch Nick, and like watching Nick work these silly bits about being a dad. Or you watch like Ant working these wild bits about his mom. Or, dude, it's so interesting to watch your friends who like you don't feel like you're a lot alike comedy wise, but you're all hitting in the same direction. You're all trying to achieve the same thing, and just the bits that are coming out. Like I love, like I think I talked to you about this last time we saw each other. I'm loving writing mundane bits. I love that I have a bit about canned meat. I have 7 minutes on talking canned meat. It's just, I love doing the mundane stuff, man. Like I'm trying to write a bit about like literally just about having IBS, just because I like hot sauce and it's like it's a nightmare the next day. And just it's a fun one.
I just finished a good bit about being lactose intolerant.
Yeah,
but you'll hear.
I like that. Me and you literally have potty humor.
Yeah, let me talk about something that's actually happening. I think when I started getting to the realism about like my life and shit, I was like, okay, this is actually gonna work. Mm-hmm. Like when you start trimming the fat off and talk about the realism of your stuff, like it's okay to fabricate a story, but don't do it so hard that like people can notice when you BSing on the mic.
Yeah. Or you want to like massage it. You want to stretch it a little bit, so you give it a little bit more like highlights, and it seems a little bit bigger, like larger than life. But you want to keep the core bits, the core stuff. That's the thing of like, if I was honest about when I was a drug addict, it's a bummer. You know what I mean? It's like I lost 2 or 3 years being a fucking junkie, and it's just like, that's not fun. So it's funner just to kind of be like a silly Billy about it. And that's what it should be. And it should be the kind of thing where it's like, I'm going to show you something that sucks. It's like talking about like, talking about my mom being blind, or talking about my dad, or the less chill things about working in the trades. It's supposed to be give you a little slice of life, right? But this, I'm not giving that slice of life to be like, oh, poor me, right? Like, no, it's like, hey, look at this little slice of life. This kind of sucks, but this is silly. This is funny. Like I was talking to a dude about it. When there's a guy in the trades at a show, and I do my trade stuff, we always talk afterwards. And I was talking to him about it, and like, the thing I want to talk about is like the whole narrative. Every time the trade stuff comes up, is either they're crooks or dummies, right? That's like the thing. And I want to show this as that's not the dudes I know. There are crooks and dummies in the trades for sure. That's not who I am. That's not who my dad is. It's not who the guys I work with are. Like we're trying to provide a good product at a fair price, and that's what I want to highlight, man. That's what I want to do. I want to do something that's like honest, because like I just, as a poor white kid growing up, all the white comics I saw were all outside the blue collar guys. Were always these upper class fucking dorks who go to college, and their big bit is like, my dad didn't like I was getting an art degree. And it's like, yeah, what job can you get with an art degree? like, yeah, is that a real problem? Like and I want to, because this thing, man, there are a lot of people like me, like that blue collar background, that working class people. They deserve representation too, and I like that I stand out because like there's not a lot of dudes working in the direction I'm working. Do you know what I mean? It's like you watch all these guys, they'll go up and they'll have a bit about whatever the news story of the day is, right? Whatever the news story of the day is, and the shitty thing is there's a lot of comics who want to prey on like tragedies. Like it's funny, I was talking about it last night because I didn't understand why no one went in this direction. When Kobe died, everyone had a Kobe joke. Everyone had a Kobe joke, and I didn't want to do a Kobe joke because like that dude died and his daughter died with him. That's horrible. Like say like everything else aside about the guy, that's a tragedy. That's a sad thing. And you have these people doing these like bits that's like this kind of shitty, this kind of mean. The bit I wrote, but I never did, but I liked was like, can you imagine being a guy who started a small helicopter tour business, and then the next day that happens? Just being that guy, like, God damn it, just throwing stuff against the wall.
Fuck.
That's the type of helicopter I have too. Shit. Like that. Like, so that was the joke, and I never did it because it's like, it's sad, and like everyone else is doing it, so why should I do it? Why would I? If everyone is selling apples, why would I go to the farmer's market and be like, I'm going to sell apples? Do you know what I mean? Like I just don't get that. That's why it's good to draw on that personal experience, like we were talking about, like drawing on your personal life. You know what I mean? Like how many people were homeschooled, have a blind mom, a martial artist father, and it was a drug addict. That's not a common backstory. So it's like I can draw on that.
Okay.
So
before we go out, what advice do you have to any comedians in the game, whether they're looking to get into it, whether it's aspiring or they already in the game already?
You got to be honest. It's really good to be honest, but it's good to be honest, but not too self-critical, because you can self-destruct being too self-critical. And you're running your own race. That's a big one. You're running your own race, man. Like if you get into this and you really start doing it, you're gonna see people that you think you're better than. That like I did a show not too long ago, in a small area, and there was a local person who was the headliner, and they did better than me. But like watching their set, you realize like, oh, you're gonna only be able to work here. 60% of your material is about this area. Is about hyper-specific things about this area that people in this area know, so you'll make them laugh. But that's not going to work in Richmond. That's not going to work in Williamsburg. That's not going to work in Charlotte. That's not going to work in New York. That's not going to work in Boston. So you're running your own race. So when you get into this, you're going to see your friends getting stuff. You're going to see your friends doing stuff. You're going to see people you don't think are good getting stuff. And you can't let that shit get in your head. Just you're doing your own race. You're getting better for when your time comes. So that get up, be honest about your material, but not too self-critical, and remember that it's your race. You're gonna get there when you get there. So that would be my advice.
Yeah, it's a marathon, not a race. I mean, not a race. A marathon, not a jog race. Whatever.
It's a marathon, not a sprint.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We got it. We figured it out. Look at us workshopping, dude. Writing team. Roman Addison, dude. We'll figure it out. There we go. Roman Addison Partners. Hey, our writing company we're starting.
you broke a barrier, bro. You're the first. I don't want to get canceled. You're the first non-colored person I've had on this podcast.
First Caucasian on
this podcast, man. You are. You really are.
Oh no, I keep being that guy. This is the second or third podcast I've done where I'm the first white guy. Yeah, dude, it's so like last one, the dude made me talk to him because I mentioned casually like growing up in a black church, and that ended up being like 15 minutes of a podcast. Like we were talking about the old ladies in their hats. Do you remember?
Yeah.
Do you remember when you go to church? Yeah, I just felt like they were always competing. Who could have the talk? Like there was a lady who had like a small little bird in her hat at my church. I think her name was Miss Rose. But no, man, I just view this as friends. Like I was like, oh, you're a good guy. That's like when I had to cancel on your this week, I felt bad. So I was like, Rome's a good dude. Rome wants me to do something, I'll do it. I like that guy. But man. I'm glad I could break the barrier, dude. You know?
Yeah, man, you like the Jackie Robinson of my podcast right now.
I would say, dude, it's like finally, good like as a white guy getting into some black spaces, letting people know. Yeah, you guys don't hear enough about white people yet, so let me tell you a little bit about me, dude. I'm Polish. We're the Poles. We're the people adjacent to Russia. Our homeland is mud and snow with a couple potatoes, so it's pretty cool. Pretty cool. Sick.
At homeschool.
I was homeschooled, yeah.
Shit.
Shout out to my mom, dude. That sweet blind woman.
Shout out to my pops for making me do comedy and be consistent with
it. Shout out to Papa Davis, dude.
Yeah, and I do want to shout this out because it was a good friend. Good friend of both of ours. A good guy, Timmy.
Yeah, shout out to Tim Macklin, man. Shout out to Tim Macklin. Yeah, man, that's one of those things that's been a real growth for me this year. It's been really tough. Like I'm still like, whatever. You follow me on Instagram, you see like every once in a while I'll post a picture of them because I'm thinking about them. That's something. If you guys can take away from this, check on your friends, man. Just like check in on people. I do it with you. I do it with other people, but yeah, check in with people, man. Like, hey, man, how you doing? I'm here if you need to talk. Yeah, shout out Timmy, man.
Shout out to Timmy, man. Tim was a realist.
Oh yeah, dude.
Tim
was funny,
bro.
man.
Tim was
so fun. I always loved his bit about it was like they legalized weed in Denver. And I was like, that's the start. That's the start. Next thing you know, Denver's gonna be pawning. Those mountains are gonna be in a pawn shop, so they can score smack. Yeah, shout out Tim, man. Yeah, great guy.
Appreciate you, Addy, coming on here, man.
Yeah, buddy. Thank you for having me. This was fun. I had a lot of fun.
You'll be back. Just give me some time. I got some more sex workers or whatever you want to call them.
Yeah, that's my favorite thing about following you on Instagram. Is just every once in a while, it's just a lady, just a lady in lingerie, and I'm like, man, Rome's is out there doing it. Rome's just. I love that I also love because you're like one of the few dudes I know who do church shows. So it must be wild for people who follow you from church shows. They're following you. It's like, oh, he was so funny at the fellowship, and then it's just like a lady who's just like, yeah. I let my fans come on and fuck me, but I'm allowed to post it on my OnlyFans. And you're just like, damn, bro, what are you doing, dude?
Bro, like I'd say I need to write. I was working on it, but when my pops passed. We had the funeral, and they was like, oh, I saw you do a podcast, da-da-da. And they started scrolling on my Facebook. It was like, whew. And what tripped me out, one of my aunts was like, I watched the episode with the Kink Talk, the Dominatrix. I was like, what the fuck?
I'd be into that.
I was like, oh.
Can you give me her information? Yes. So I ask questions. You're like, I don't want to have this conversation.
So bad, bro. So fucking bad. It does no wonders for my dating life at all.
Shout out to the No ID podcast, dude. It's so much. That's great.
Nobody.
I'm so happy for you, buddy. I like this. I think it's because it feels like you. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's so many people. It's like I feel like they're chasing what they think people want to see instead. I feel like you're doing what you want to do, and I fucking respect the hell out of it, man. That's we talk about the art side of this, right? Like. Mm-hmm. I think, and I'm sorry if I keep holding you up, but you gotta go. I think that people who do this, like, are really doing this. There's like a spectrum, right? And one side of the spectrum is the art side, and the other side of it is the business side. And I think me and you are like one notch over on the art side, where we're like, I want to like present me well, I want to do my bit well, but like, it's like I'm a comic, I'm a clean comic. But yeah, I'm gonna do a podcast where I talk to sex workers. Like I like that because that's clearly like that's the art side of you, and I'm sure the business side of you in your head's like, what are you doing? We're clean. We do church shows, and you're like, but this is interesting, and I respect that because I'm that way where it's just like, oh, this dude's a year in. Should you feature for him? It's like, I'll feature for him. He's gonna pay me. I'll bury that guy. I don't care. And it's just like because I'm just having fun with it. You know what I mean? I'm gonna have fun at the show. Mm-hmm. Where the business side of me should be like, no, I'm actually above that now. So now I'm not above that, dude. Pay me in drink tickets, I'll show up. I'll make you regret that policy. Comics drink for free.
Now I'm snorting.
Oh, this is fun, man.
It is fun, bro. When's the next show? When is the next thing you got going on?
So I got a bunch of stuff coming up. Next weekend, Thanksgiving weekend, I'm going to be in Elkton, Virginia, at Brouhaha Comedy. I'm running it for our buddy Tyrell, who doesn't want to go out that way because it's like 3 hours from us. Until he has his kid, probably closer to 4 for him because he lives in Virginia Beach. So I'm gonna be running that. Originally, it's funny. The first guy I asked when I was given the show was Wood, and Wood was already booked. So this month it's going to be Parker Clay, Nathan Carlson, and Zach Carpenter. And so I'm going to host. If you guys haven't seen Nathan Carlson, he's a killer. He's great. He's really good. And dude, Parker is so sharp right now. Parker's like fresh back from Denver, and he's sharp as hell. Next month, which I'm waiting for the confirmed, I'm gonna have the show next month. But next month I'm gonna have Wood, and I'm gonna have Millhouse. Have you met him? Out of he comes to Kazi's. He's really sharp and he's funny, and I want to put him on some shows. I'm probably gonna see if I can get a couple other people to come with us. And it's like out in the middle of nowheres, and it's a lot of fun. I also have I'm doing. Oh wow, I'm blanking on stuff. I got a bunch of stuff. Follow me on Instagram, Addison L Hall. You just type in Addison. I'll be the first not hot girl. So there, yeah. But yeah, I got a bunch of stuff coming up, and I'm producing a podcast currently that I'm hoping to have out by the first of the year called Dyson Dudes. You can see my books back there. It's like a role playing podcast, kind of X-Files theme. With comics, and we joke and have a lot of fun. And I got my buddy Cale Moore and Taylor Edwards on that. Great comics. You guys haven't seen them. But yeah, man, I got a bunch of stuff. Check me out, Addison L Hall, Instagram. So, yeah, buddy.
Check me out, Comedian Rome, and No ID Media TV on Instagram and on Facebook and YouTube. Comedy and podcast be posting. We got a new website. We'll link in the bio.
Hell yeah.
We've upgraded 110%. About time this episode that came out, you already probably didn't see me somewhere. Shit.
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah. And then next year is gonna be that year of whatever. Travel.
Yeah.
Got some big shit coming up in February that I can't really speak on because I had signed some documents.
Ooh, there we go.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Addy, bro, I appreciate you getting up here, man. We're going to go ahead and stop the podcast.
All right. Yeah, that was fun.